pockets that while we may not have widespread low relative humidity values and widespread gusty winds, there are areas just like Simi Valley that continue to see those low relative humidity values. And we continue to see much higher relative humidity values not far away from this, and winds that are not nearly as gusty as this. So this is a corridor where we continuously see right near the Santa Susana Mountains some of these stronger winds pushing through. So having an isolated event like this and seeing our elevated fire risk just in neighborhoods like this is a reality that we have become familiar with because we know of these microclimates and these areas where we continuously see dangerous conditions like these. I'll give you a quick update on some of the current numbers that we're seeing in the area. Again, still holding on to that 5 to 10 mile per hour wind speed that's been coming in from the northeast with gusts just close to 20 miles per hour, but just to the east of where this fire is burning, gusts that have been much closer to 30 miles per hour, at times exceeding 30 miles per hour, and low relative humidity values throughout the area, suggesting very dry conditions. Right now, your temperatures hanging out in the 70s in this area. Temperatures play a factor in this. We are warm this time of year. That can impact firefighting efforts, so that's something we have to keep in mind. In general, we're seeing what is considered pretty normal for us for our relative humidity values around Southern California, but it's actually a pocket right there that we're seeing where these relative humidity values drop off because these Santa Ana winds continue to just drive through the area. Again, we're not included in a red flag warning for this area. We do have wind advisories, though, that do include the Santa Susana Mountains. They exclude areas like Simi Valley and Moore Park down to Thousand Oaks, but that doesn't mean that these areas don't experience these strong winds when they come through. They come off those ridges especially, and they continue to push down through those neighborhoods. That's why we always say, you know your neighborhood best. If you are a windy neighborhood, especially when we've got those Santa Ana winds, you've got to be on guard.
All right. Kelly, we appreciate it. We want to tell you here it's nearing 12 o'clock, and we're staying on the air with this breaking news of brush fire burning in Simi Valley. They're calling this the Sandy Fire, obviously a fast-moving fire.
Yeah, it's burned as of right now 184 acres. Evacuation orders and warnings are in place as firefighters work to gain the upper hand. So we want to bring in someone who's been evacuated. I don't have that person's name, but are you on the phone here? Okay, don't have that person yet. Okay, but in the meantime, I do want to let you guys know that a temporary evacuation point will be open. And in fact, it's open now at 12 o'clock. They opened this Rancho Santa Susana Community Park. That's located at 5005 Los Angeles Avenue in Simi Valley. For anybody who has bigger animals, Eric Leonard was saying that a lot of these properties have horses. A large animal shelter is open at Ventura County Fairgrounds, and that's located at 10 East Harbor Boulevard in Ventura. So just keep those things in mind. Very helpful as evacuation orders and evacuations are in place.
Yeah, our coverage here over the last hour has included, some sound with the Simi Valley Police Department. Andrew Dowd with Ventura County Fire, characterizing the Sandy Fire as a dynamic fire, a wind-driven fire. He talked about a number of evacuation orders, asking residents to follow and heed all warnings. And this is an effort with Ventura County, Cal Fire, as well as LA City and County Fire.
Yeah, and we also spoke to Simi Valley Police Sergeant Richard Morton, said that they got a call at 10:17 this morning, came in from a resident who said they were clearing out the brush. That person hit a rock with their tractor, and that apparently started this fire. So, we're still trying to get some more information as far as all of this. But, Michael, in Ventura County, a lot of people are clearing out their brush right now because there's that June 1st deadline. So we were talking about the irony, right? Clearing out the brush, hitting a rock, and then potentially starting this fire.
And what we witnessed here live on our air via live pictures from News Chart before, a home burning on Trickling Brook Court. We saw there are firefighters on the ground, a number of RVs within that particular area as well that they are still trying to save. We did speak to an evacuee not too long ago in the process of grabbing documents, pets, just getting out. Got word at about 11:10 this morning that he needed to evacuate. Let's listen from him.
I mean, we have documents that we saved in times like this, so we knew we kind of lived in the area that is prone to fires. So I'm grabbing some of those documents. I'm grabbing our pets and animals, and I'm heading on out in just a few minutes.
How long?
Pretty concerned. I mean, I'm definitely concerned for the neighbors that live a little bit closer to the fire in the cul-de-sac back there. But yeah, definitely concerning. I can see it. It's not even 8 houses away, so pretty nervous. Yeah.
Yeah, so Eddie Calderon, who interviewed that gentleman there, asked where he's headed, where he's going. He's going to his mother's house, who's deeper into the city.
Yeah, but let's talk about the air quality. I want to bring in meteorologist Kelly Moody, because this isn't, the air quality here isn't just affecting the people in that surrounding area. This is traveling fast, Kelly.
Absolutely. And so whether or not you are near this area or even just in the surrounding areas in Ventura County, Moore Park, Thousand Oaks, areas right around Simi Valley, there is a good possibility that you will be exposed to some of this smoke as it continues to move through. We talked earlier about what's called particulate matter 2.5. You may have heard it called PM 2.5. That is what is in a lot of this smoke and ash that continues to contaminate the air once a fire has burned. And so there are, of course, some important things that you should keep in mind if you are living around this area. Make sure your doors and windows are shut. Your animals, your kids, everybody is inside. Be especially cautious with those who may be asthmatic, anyone in your family who may be older, has a heart condition, has a lung condition, COPD. Everybody needs to stay indoors. Run your air conditioning unit if you can. We are going to continue to be providing you updates on how the air quality is going to be affected in this area. But again, just some tips, making sure you're staying indoor, closing your windows and your doors, running the AC. And if you have it, and oh, I hope you do, wear that N95 mask if you have to be outside. Because while you may not be in the direct path of these flames, you will be exposed to some of that smoke as we continue over the next several hours. So we're continuing to monitor the air quality in the area. Earlier today, we did have what was considered pretty decent air quality. So at least we know that that's good to start. Of course, now, definitely not the case. Let's take a look on these current conditions with this fire, continuing to see these northeasterly winds coming in consistently between 5 and 10 miles per hour right where the fire is burning. But if you look just off to the east of that, that's where we're picking up on winds that are between 15 to 20 miles per hour with gusts that are much stronger, right around 30 miles per hour, as strong as even 35 miles per hour. We've been talking to you all about the wind advisories in place right near there where this fire is burning along the Santa Susana Mountains. This was a view just after 10:30 a.m. where we saw that fire breaking out and continuing to see those clouds and those, rather that smoke that has been pluming in the area. I want to give you a look at how winds are expected to shape up over the next couple of hours, because something significant is expected to happen. As we get into the late afternoon hours, we're likely to start seeing our onshore flow off the coast push back. So the opposite of your Santa Ana winds. That mixing will have an interesting result, likely pushing things up to the northwest with this. So that's something we have to continue to monitor. We're likely to continue to see gusts upwards of 25 miles per hour in the area through the afternoon. We have that wind advisory in place for the Santa Susanas just to the north of where this fire is burning until 3 o'clock. After that, winds are expected to weaken into tonight. But even as we look ahead at tomorrow, we are expecting some of those strong winds to stay with us. This is a look at our current wind gusts, just regionally speaking. This is an area where we consistently see strong winds when Santa Ana's come through because of the geography and the topography, if you will, of that region. When we look at our sustained winds, and I want you to pay attention to where these arrows are pointing. For the area where this fire is burning, we're continuing to see that Santa Ana push, the offshore flow with those winds coming down from the north and from the east. But other areas, we're starting to see more of that push from the coast. So over the next couple of hours, we do expect that same transition to be taking place near Simi Valley, where this fire continues to burn. Michael, Annabelle, I'll send it over to you for a moment.
All right, Kelly, we appreciate it. And of course, we talk about what is happening here in Simi Valley. 184 acres burned thus far. And kids are in session. Kids are in school here right now. We actually have a bulletin put out by the Simi Valley School District. They're aware that the fire is burning near Hillside Middle School, Crestview Elementary School, Hollow Hills Elementary, and Mountain View Elementary School. All children are sheltering in place because of air quality. That means all outdoor activities have been suspended.
Yeah, and they did send out that bulletin saying, quote, student safety is our top priority. At this time, all students are safe. Due to current air quality conditions, students are sheltering in place inside their classrooms, and outdoor activities have been suspended. In case any of the parents wanted to know the status of your children and what's going on at the schools, well, that's currently what's going on, and that was from a bulletin that was sent out. So want to now get to Eric Leonard. Eric, are you with us? Eric?
Hi, guys.
Hi.
Hey.
Eric, so you mentioned that a lot of these residents have horses or bigger animals, and now we know that there is a shelter for these larger animals.
Right, I heard you guys talking about that. Usually, yes, when there are large animal evacuations out in our neck of the woods in Ventura County, the fairgrounds are the place to go because they have stables there. I believe at some point there was horse racing in that area, so they've got lots of room. And a lot of the folks who have trailers for their horses know one another. Some years back, there was a fire further west burning near the Reagan Library, and it was amazing to watch a huge lineup, almost organically, of everybody in town who had a horse trailer that just showed up, just there to help. Anybody who needs their horse or other big animals, there's lots of goats out there too, moved. They just did it. And the Bridle Path neighborhood, which is where we've seen the fire get the closest to homes and people's property, is a horse neighborhood. Lots of people have barns, they have corrals, they have walking areas, there's horse trails in the neighborhood. That's where the fire burned closest to. So I imagine the folks up there are well equipped and ready to move their animals out as well as themselves if something like this happens. Just looking at the live picture there, we can see that they are starting to put some retardant down out in the hills. Number one, that's to prevent the fire from backing down back towards the areas it's already burned when the wind dies down. I think I heard Kelly saying earlier they were expecting the wind to reduce its intensity as the afternoon goes on, which of course is great news, but it also means that the unburnt fuel becomes somewhat easier for the fire to burn back in the opposite direction. So when we see them putting that retardant down beyond the area that burned closest to where the fire started, it's really to prevent it from going backwards and threatening in any of these other neighborhoods. Just looking at the geography there, having driven through this area quite a bit, everything to the south for several miles is wilderness once it's out of this neighborhood. But that doesn't mean that there aren't homes on the other sides of those hills. But given the way that the wind may be dying down, it seems like there's ample opportunity here to make some good progress and prevent this from threatening another neighborhood some hours from now.
You know, Eric, just in watching the firefight over the last hour or so via News Chopper 4, we noticed a lot of fire breaks and brush clearance. Has this area always been diligent about that, or has it been a result of major fires like, the Palisades fire or the Eden fire, for example?
Well, obviously, there's greater attention. Every time there's a tragic fire, everyone pays a little closer attention to the brush clearance issues. But, yeah, just in passing through the area, we can see that there's tractors, bulldozers out doing some of the larger scale brush clearance. In the neighborhood I live in, which is a little further to the north and west, they have crews that come in with those little Bobcat tractors a couple of times a year. They don't let it's not about this June 1st deadline, which is the legal deadline for having the brush clearance done. It's kind of a periodic thing. It's like mowing the lawn. The fire danger is just so great out in these wilderness and city interface areas that people are pretty diligent about it. In the hills here, for the most part, once you get south of these neighborhoods, it is unoccupied wilderness. There are trails that people go mountain biking, hiking, and running on. Those trails are the ones that are typically maintained as fire breaks. So when you see the aerial pictures from those neighborhoods and the big stretches of brown that go through the middle of those wilderness areas, a lot of those are the hiking trails, horse trails that have been enhanced by the county to try to give them an opportunity when they need it, like there is right now. There's already a road there that they can come in with a bulldozer and widen if there's a fire that's burning through the area.
Yeah. All right, Eric, thank you so much for that. We know this is an all hands on deck situation. You're going to be standing by. CAL FIRE working on this, LA County, LA City. So yeah, a lot of people trying to just get this fire under control. All right. We have another phoner here with Ventura County Supervisor Jeff Gorell. Jeff, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.
All right, Jeff, if you can just give us just what we know so far, what you know so far, any information that we still don't have yet.
Yeah, I think you're probably tracking that it's about 200 acres, started in Simi Valley, the Sandy Fire. It's traveling south.
Our wedding is literally right around the corner.
And we have two different opinions sitting on this couch over here. Colin is definitely stressed.
We don't have save the dates. We don't have a caterer. We don't have a dress. We don't have a suit. We don't have flowers. We don't have a cake. We don't have dessert.
We've done
Invested. We've got other agencies throughout the county. And then we have a number of strike teams that have come up from LA and LA County. There's air assets on and above the fire, both choreographing the firefight as well as dropping retardant. So we feel that, especially with the break that we're going to have here southbound between this residential neighborhood and anyone beyond that, we feel like we've got some time to be able to get this fire to sit down and to put it out. So right now it is all hands on deck. We're not, we're not leaving anything to fall between the cracks. We're just focused on trying to get a handle of it right now. So don't know the origin of the fire or the source of the fire yet. It's already, investigations have been started as soon as these fires are discovered, and we'll have that announced when we come to that conclusion. But no origin currently. Public information.
Yeah, I think the immediate plan right now is to get this fire out. You said about 200 acres here, Jeff. You said some homes were involved. We actually witnessed live on air one home burning. Can you confirm more than one at this point? And if so, how many?
I don't know how an exact number of structures, but I believe it's more than one home that is, fully involved, engulfed in flames. And I don't have an exact count right now. I think I can share that as soon as I do get that information, but I don't have it right now.
Jeff, what do you want all of these people, all of these residents to know as they're under a warning at this point?
Right. That's the most important question. And it is vcemergency.com. vcemergency.com is where people should follow this. A lot of people follow the fire on third-party apps. Those are often informative, but are not the most critical information sources. So I would direct people to vcemergency.com or vcemergency.org, either one. And that'll be the most up-to-date information about both evacuation warnings and evacuation orders. I know the fire department has been doing life-saving operations and has helped some people already escape their homes and neighborhoods who are immobile and unable to drive away themselves. So that's really what we're focused on right now more than anything is life safety. While, as you mentioned before, we're also laying down fire breaks through our air support and through hand crews to try to prevent any kind of southern movement of the fire.
Jeff, before you go, I just want to get some clarification here. Earlier today, we spoke to Simi Valley Police Sergeant Richard Morton. He said that around 10:17 this morning, a resident called in, said that they were clearing out their brush, hit a rock. The tractor he was on hit a rock, and that potentially started this fire. What have you heard about that?
All I've been advised by my chief, the Ventura County Fire Chief, is that it's under investigation, and we don't have a public statement at this time.
All right. We, of course, will continue to flush that out. And when you do have a confirmed statement, you'll share it with us, I presume.
Yes, absolutely.
Okay. All right, we appreciate your time this afternoon, and again, we now want to switch gears and speak with the mayor of Agoura Hills, Jeremy Wolf. Are you with us, Mr. Wolf?
Yeah, I'm here. Hello.
Hey, good afternoon. We started out as good morning, but good afternoon to you. What can you tell us about the Sandy Fire, close to 200 acres at this point?
Yes, thank you. So here in Agoura Hills, we are monitoring the situation very closely. It is currently not a direct threat to the city of Agoura Hills as it's still in Ventura County, but we are monitoring it and we're in close coordination with LA County Fire. And so we're watching the situation, but at the moment it is not a direct threat to our community in Agoura Hills, but that could change very quickly.
Yeah, Mayor, even though it's not a direct threat at this point, you still want, a cautionary tale here. You want residents to be on alert, even though it's not directly in their path.
We absolutely want residents to be ready. And, we live in a fire-prone area. And while we're in May, we're used to the fire season is now year-round. And so residents are ready. But we want to work with them. And one way is they can go to our city website to get alerts so that they can stay up to date with exactly what's going on. And we recommend they go to agorahillscity.gov-ready. And that's agorahillscity.gov-ready to get the latest information so that they are ready and prepared.
All right, so agorahillscity.gov.ready.
Yes, sir. And like I said, situation could change very quickly, and so I urge all residents to be following all these outlets to make sure that they're ready to evacuate if the time comes.
Mayor, you are one of the neighboring cities there from Simi Valley. What are you experiencing right now?
So I'm getting reports from residents that there's view of a lot of smoke, and the fire looks like it was getting bigger in size throughout the morning. Currently, the way the wind is blowing, it's not smoky within the city, but it's very visible. So they can see it right over the hill, very dramatically.
It's very dramatic. I mean, we are looking at these images, along with everybody else, along with all of our viewers here. We're seeing that the wind just pick up that smoke and just travel so fast. I mean, this is obviously concerning for anybody who lives in the surrounding areas. I mean, at this point, for people who are at work, who are watching this on TV, they're concerned because they're not home yet. But people who are home are looking at this and wondering, okay, what do I do? What do I gather?
Absolutely, and that's why it's so important to be prepared and to have your plan together and to look at, there's the 5 Ps to make sure that the people in your life are ready, the pets, the papers, and prescriptions. That's really the most important. And so to have that plan so you're ready to go.
All right, so Mayor of Agora Hills, Jeremy Wolf, we appreciate your time here this afternoon. Thanks for being with us.
Thank you so much.
All right, be safe. Thank you. News Chapter 4 live over Simi Valley here for us. Julia Dang at the controls here. Julia, you've been on this here for quite some time now. Kind of characterize what is versus what was.
It was, I think, a very urgent firefight on the ground and in the air, Michael. Right now, from my vantage point, as I give you this larger bird's eye view of the Sandy fire that started here in Simi Valley, it looks to me like portions of this fire might actually be under control now. Of course, the official containment is going to come after firefighters confirm those areas cannot reignite. But this portion of it, this is beyond where they actually laid down some fire retardant using those fixed-wing aircraft. This is now igniting. This officially is still 0% contained. This, fortunately, is a little bit farther off from homes. We have seen from News Chopper 4 only one house that burned to the ground. There has been chatter, though, about additional homes. We don't have an official count right now. I know you were asking the county official, fire department officials, if there is a confirmed count as to how many structures, how many homes have actually burned. Again, from News Chopper 4, we only saw one. The house that was on top of the hill, the one on Trickling Brook Court off of Rambling Road. And we watched as firefighters on the ground saturated nearby properties with water and ensured that fire did not spread. But I'm hearing the booth in my ear right now. Producers asking me to just scan the area and look for other homes that could be burning. We're not seeing that right now. We're also not seeing the outflow of traffic that we noted earlier, cars driving out of these cul-de-sacs. It looks like the evacuation portion of this, at least, is complete as these CAL FIRE helicopters come back in to do more water drops.
All right, Julia Dang, if you can just stand by for us. Our Jonathan Gonzalez just got to the scene there. Jonathan, I see you there, and I see you're in front of a home there.
Yeah, we're right on Max Court, Annabelle, and we're watching firefighting aircraft overhead right now. There are flames directly behind this home. This is 1910 Max Court. We see the homeowner here in the back. We don't want to trespass onto his property, but we do want to try to speak to him at some point because there are flames just maybe 200-300 feet from the edge of his property. And when we talk about defensible space, there is none right now. There is a lot of dry brush between the edge of his property and those flames that we're seeing up on the hill here. These are beautiful homes, sadly, that are now being threatened by this Sandy fire. We were driving from the Glendale area, and we got on the 5 to the 118. The moment we got on the 118 in the valley, we could see the smoke plume. It is absolutely massive. And the moment you get on the 118, you were feeling those winds whipping the vehicle. And as we got closer to Simi Valley, the winds only got stronger. So right now, we see multiple crews. I see LA City Fire on scene here trying to do structure protection with these homes as we watch what's going to be hopefully a water drop right behind these homes. This hillside that you're seeing here is already charred. There's a water drop. And you hope that that is what's going to help save these homes. Again, there are flames actively burning. Jeremy, watch out. That truck is coming this way. So again, a very active situation. LA City firefighters just now getting on the scene here. I'm going to see if we can try to speak with some of the homeowners. Jeremy, I'm going to walk this way and see if potentially we could talk to people. Hey guys, we're live on NBC4 News right now. My name is Jonathan. Do you guys live at this home?
Oh yeah. Yes, we do. Yes.
When did you? How soon or how long ago did the fire come to this neighborhood? We know it started over the hill.
Probably like an hour ago or an hour and a half.
Have they told you guys to leave?
Yeah, we got a warning.
What do you make of all happening right now and sadly threatening your home and the homes around you?
I just hope that we can go somewhere, that's better and
that's safe, and that everybody else is okay afterwards.
Have they given you any indication of a place that you can go? Or just trying to head down the hill?
We have been watching the Fire Watch Duty app, and they say they have an evacuation area closer to Teresa's, and they're moving one even farther away currently.
Were you able to have enough of what you needed, at least at this point?
At this point, yes, we got about 5 cars loaded up.
Well, we hope, that everything's, you guys stay safe and that your home stays safe and be safe. Well, guys, thank you for speaking with us. So again, this is the urgency here. We see some other potential homeowners or people who live on this street who are now evacuating. We see several cars that weren't there before trying to head down the hill. And there are a lot of firefighting aircraft overhead, which is good news for this neighborhood. But yeah, the smoke plume, very intimidating. The winds, guys, intimidating. And you just see the panic and a lot of people. We drove by a school. The line of parents and guardians there to pick up their children went down the street. And that was just a few blocks from where we are right now. So we're going to continue to monitor the situation here in this neighborhood and try to speak to more people. But the good news is firefighters are now on scene here on Max Court.
Jonathan, what's really interesting, your initial shot, I saw blue skies just above the roof lines of these homes. You do a quick pivot of that camera. It's a completely different scene with all that smoke.
Yes.
Jonathan.
Oh, you're so right, Michael. I was just thinking the exact same thing. Go ahead, Annabelle.
No, the people that you were interviewing mentioned that they were going to go to an evacuation center, and I just want to give out that information. It's the Rancho Santa Susana Community Park, and that's located in Simi Valley. For anybody who needs to, needs somewhere to go in the meantime, that's one location. And then I also want to give out the large animal shelter. Those are being taken at Ventura County Fairgrounds. A smaller animal shelter is at the Simi Valley Animal Shelter. Just wanted to give you guys that information there.
Hey, Jonathan, we see them.
That is good information. Yes, Michael.
We see them pulling line here right now. Just your eyes and ears there in that neighborhood. If you're good with measurements here, I saw those flames that Jeremy was just focused in on not too long ago. Distance between where you are versus where those flames are. Any indication?
Oh, in terms of no, we're talking not even a football field away for those flames that are burning up this hill behind this home. Yes, I mean maybe 200-300 feet, and we're going to see if we can go onto this property and maybe speak to one of the homeowners where they're about to do a water drop here. Let's see how it does. Wow. What precision. That is
Wow.
absolutely incredible. They were able to knock out the flames just feet from the edge of this property as these firefighters are now running down the hill, down the driveway. So it shows you there's a very active firefight happening and that they're doing an incredible job knocking out these flames whenever they can. When we were coming up, I noticed there was some Phos-Chek lines, some fire retardant right along the eastbound flank of this fire, and the fire had already stopped from spreading that way. So that was a bit of good news. Unfortunately, that smoke plume does continue, and we still see dark smoke. A lot of white smoke now, which is good news, especially behind this home, but a lot of dark smoke still. It shows you that the fire is still very actively burning. As we walk onto this property, we want to see if we can get one of the homeowners. Sir, we're live on Channel 4. Can we speak with you briefly? Is this your home here, or you're just here to help? What time did it reach this area?
I don't know. I just got here 20 minutes ago.
Do you know if the homeowner's around?
He's running around somewhere.
Yeah, okay. Well, we hope that everything stays safe. Thank you for speaking with us. Again, it shows you that people are just trying to actively protect their homes as best as possible. I'm looking on the edge of this property. There looks like there's a gate that firefighters right here were trying to get through because that's where the flames were burning, Michael. Now we're about maybe 150 to 200 feet from where that was. And so we're going to go see if we can get more information about what's going on the other side of this hill, or potentially get closer to some neighborhoods that are under more direct threat. The good news is the situation in this particular neighborhood has gotten a lot better in the last 10 minutes since we got here.
You know, Jonathan, I know you guys are working hard out there in those elements, but I mean, I got to talk about the precision and accuracy of that water drop.
Yeah.
That, I mean, to witness it in person.
Oh, to witness it in person, it just shows you that we have the best firefighters in the world. We've long said that. And here we have LA City firefighters now pulling water hoses up this hill, which is, I believe, a second property. It looks like this is a long driveway that actually wraps around that other home where we were just at. And I'm assuming this driveway leads to a home or a structure that's even higher up the hill, closer to those flames. And so we're walking up here. This is what they're trying to focus on. This is what was being threatened, this beautiful home here. Yeah, here on the edge of this cul-de-sac. And you still smell the smoke. You can see the smoke, and it's still really dark up in the distance, but the hillside here is already charred. The good news is these homes are still standing. I'm going to see if we can try to get one of the homeowners to speak with us.
And I'm hearing you're breathing
just a
there,
moment
Jonathan. I mean, the smoke, the heaviness is also impacting so many people who live around
Yeah,
there,
you know,
right? It's hard to breathe.
Do you live here?
Okay. Homeowners, the white shirt.
Okay, thank you. All right, guys, we're here in a backyard. You can see firefighters. Let me see if we can get Jeremy to catch up a little bit here. And we have LA fire crews up on the hillside, climbing the hillside of this person's backyard, where they're trying to tackle some smoldering areas right behind the property. You can see that black hillside now. It's been charred, but his property line is safe. They're right on the edge of it. Thankfully, it doesn't look like any of its property has really burned, but the threat is far from over. As you guys know, with these winds, embers can kick up, they can spread, and that's the threat that continues. Even when you see some of that white smoke, you see the homeowner there helping the firefighters as well.
You know, this really is an all-hands situation here. I mean, the homeowners are there, firefighters are there, friends are coming over to assist. I mean, everybody's just trying to.
Every Graza olive oil bottle faces our two master testers. Their only job is to agree that it's good enough for you, which only happens 5% of the time.
Sure, millions of people trust Vistaprint to print business cards they love.
Yep.
But did you know we also print their t-shirts?
Some friends came over, said, hey, there's a fire back behind you. And came out and was just coming over the hill, and they were just starting to make drops. Gave us the evacuation order, so we packed up and loaded up our stuff and drove down the driveway. And now we've just been kind of wait and see.
You're still here. A lot of your neighbors are evacuating. You're still here because, and we're getting soaked right now because that water drop. Talk about the water drops. The precision's been incredible. They're knocking out every flame.
These guys, they train for this, so pretty amazing how they know when to drop it, where to drop it. I understand these guys are the best of the best, so at fighting structure fires, so we're pretty confident they're going to get it out. So
this is a threat always when you live on a hillside in Southern California, but you also never really believe it's ever going to happen to you. What do you make of this moment that you're going through right now?
You never think it's going to be you, right? You're always going to think it's going to be somebody else, but here we are, and by the grace of God, he's going to protect our home, and we'll be good.
Absolutely. And here's another water drop happening. I anticipate we're going to get drenched here in just another moment. But Brad, thank you. We hope that you stay safe and that your home stays safe as well. Absolutely. Yes. And so, again, we have LA City firefighters right on the edge of his property trying to put out a lot of those hot spots. But, again, the issue is those winds, Annabelle and Michael. They can kick up embers, for as long as the winds continue. Thankfully, from what our meteorologists were mentioning earlier, it isn't the windiest day we're going to see, and things hopefully will eventually calm down throughout the day. But right now, with those winds and this smoke, it's still a huge issue trying to make sure you get every single little hot spot out.
Yeah, but, even though this isn't the windiest day, I mean, we are already seeing the damage it can do, right, with just a spark of a fire.
Exactly.
So, yeah, CAL FIRE is assisting in this.
Absolutely.
LA County, LA City, all hands on deck.
I'm sure the homeowner at this point, Jonathan, doesn't mind getting splashed on after that water drop. Bring it on. Let it continue.
You can talk about the relief he must have felt, that we all felt right in that moment, especially given, Michael, that these flames are just feet from his property line, and we see those aircraft right overhead. I've covered many fires. I've never been this close to so many aircraft. It shows you that this is really where the firefight has been over the last 10 to 15 minutes since we arrived in this neighborhood. Again, this is Max Court under mandatory evacuation orders at this point. As you guys saw earlier, we did speak to some people who are trying to get out, and we saw people down the street at one of the schools in line, a long line, to pick up their children and take them home. Luckily, the school wasn't that close to the hillside, but still, the smoke, it's not healthy. The air quality, it's good that those parents were able to go get their children, but and that everyone is safe there. And that's the moral of the story here, at least in this neighborhood, that everyone is safe at this point.
Yeah, what a difference a good 15, 20 minutes makes here in this particular area of Max Court. Jonathan, we appreciate it. Catch your breath. Let Jeremy catch his breath. We're going to go back live to News Chapter 4. Julia Dang. We have witnessed some pretty impressive water drops here in this particular neighborhood where Jonathan is, the 1900 block of Max Court. Just phenomenal.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And Michael, I know without those helicopters, you're seeing one flying through our shot right now. Firefighters would not have been able to make this much progress this quickly with the winds gusting the way they are. I want to show you the house that we watched burn down right after we got on scene. Again, Trickling Brook Court. It was on top of this hillside. The fire is pretty much out now. They did manage to ensure this did not jump to any adjacent properties, but look at this. It's just a pile of ash, and it looks to me like the fire came from this hillside. It moved up the hill as fire tends to do. It likes to creep uphill. It moves about 3 times faster that way. But Kelly mentioned this earlier, with the wind potentially dying down and then also changing direction, there is the risk of a crosswind here. So if any embers are left over, if there are any hot spots still burning here later when that happens, when the wind potentially changes direction, even though it's not going to be quite as intense, this fire could spread in other directions. Right now, from overhead, it looks to me like quite a bit of progress has been made. It looks like where they deliberately laid down this fire retardant, they did manage to stop the fire from creeping backwards, back down this hill. But you see right now, with the wind primarily blowing toward the southwest, that is where this plume of smoke is still billowing. And even if you are not in any of those evacuation warning or order zones, absolutely be aware of the air quality. We can smell the smoke. We can taste the smoke up here in News Chopper 4. And it's usually at this point in wildfire coverage where we can even see ash coming into the helicopter. So if you're down on the ground, this is absolutely something you need to be aware of, whether or not you have any underlying health conditions.
You know, we talk about that home that we caught burning live on from News Chapter 4 at Trickling Brook Court. We talked to Ventura County Supervisor Jeff Carell not too long ago. He represents the District 2. He said some homes were involved, which I can only presume includes that one that we caught live on the air. But again, we're trying to get confirmation as to, further structures or more structures that have burned. Again, trying to get that confirmation from the supervisor, but we do know at least one home is burned.
Yeah. Julia, you know, we're talking about the winds. How are you? Is the helicopter moving?
It is a very bumpy ride this morning, Annabelle. I don't know if you can tell from my shot. We have these rate knobs on the camera controls that I work up here, and I've turned all my rate knobs all the way down because controlling the joystick that moves this camera mounted to the nose of our helicopter, it is not easy with these gusty winds. And we are, of course, flying much higher than firefighting aircraft. So wind direction, wind speed, that is different at different altitudes. I'm really zooming in on trees and water in backyard pools to get a sense of how it's moving down on the ground. In addition, of course, to checking weather conditions, checking the forecast. But up here, several thousand feet above this fire, it is still pretty bumpy, Annabelle.
You know, Julia, it's really interesting that the call comes in at just after 10:15 this morning, 2-acre brush fire. We got on the air, we reported 10 acres, and now it's nearly 200 acres. Just the, you know, the unpredictable nature of fire itself. Of course, you mix in the winds, and again, you never know what's going to happen or how badly it's going to be.
Absolutely. And Michael, you know, those numbers don't tell the entire story. I mean,
Exactly.
We can have 10 acres, which is a relatively small fire, but structures threatened because it's 10 acres of densely populated area. But for this to jump from 10 to about 150 and then 200 acres in under 1 hour, that is significant.
You know, the hillsides here look desolate, but we had that coordinated effort here with Ventura County Fire, CAL FIRE, LA City and County Fire all jumping in here, again, trying to get some containment on this fire, which I do believe is still at 0% at this point, Julia.
That is correct. Officially, it is at 0%, but we know with those updates, it takes time for them to go in and actually ensure that these areas are not going to reignite. So, you know, we could see 1% containment on a fire that, from our perspective, in News Chopper 4, looking down on the fire, looks to be completely out.
Yeah.
So those numbers can mean many different things. Officially, though, you are correct. At last check, 0% containment and just about 200 acres burned, although I would not be surprised if that acreage jumps quite a bit more when we get that next update.
You know, and we are seeing all of these firefighters out there. Ventura County Fire sent us this information saying that they have 200 firefighters assigned. They're being supported by 3 air tankers and 6 helicopters conducting aggressive aerial suppression operation there. So a lot of people, a lot is going into this firefight that is just driven by these winds.
Absolutely. Thank goodness they can fly today. If these winds were too powerful for these aircraft to launch like they were at the start of the Palisades and Eaton fires, we would be looking at a very different situation on the ground. But these guys are heroes. We're seeing multiple aircraft flying under us, dropping water, dropping retardant. We're seeing hand crews down on the ground. So it sounds to us like these fire departments are pretty confident that they will be able to get this under control soon.
Yeah, proof that every city, every county needs a fruitful fire department with personnel and equipment that work. Julia, we're going to stick with your shot here. We continue to talk about the winds, Kelly, in and around the Simi Valley area. What is the update?
Yeah, so we are continuing to talk about the conditions in the actual area where we're seeing winds that have consistently stayed between 5 and 10 miles per hour. Gusts now picking up just close to 25 miles per hour as far as areas directly around the fire. But we've seen even stronger winds just off to the north and to the east where we have some slightly higher elevation through the Santa Susana Knolls. We've got wind speeds that are consistently coming in there between 15 and 20 miles per hour, gusts that have even been reaching up to 35 miles per hour. Now, I want to take a moment and talk a little bit about fire speed uphill. This was something Julia was just talking about. These fires like to move uphill. The reason that this is the case is because fire gives off so much heat, and that radiation heats the ground that is in front of it. So as it continues to push through through the area, it can spread rapidly. We're talking every 10 degrees of that slope can double the speed. So that's why we become particularly concerned when we see a fire burning in an area like this, where we know that there are varying elevations. There's a lot to consider when it comes to the topography of this area, as well as, of course, our current conditions. This is a Santa Ana wind event that we've been continuing to work with. And Simi Valley in particular is one of those spots that we always see some of those stronger winds pushing through when we have Santa Ana wind events. I also want to talk to you real quick here about relative humidity values. Now, in general, if you look around the Los Angeles basin, you've got relative humidity values that in some spots are upwards of 50%. Because we're close to the coast, we generally see extra moisture in the atmosphere. But just to really emphasize how the Santa Ana winds can change things, because we know that they have been gusting from areas through the high desert down through Santa Clarita toward Thousand Oaks and into Simi Valley, look at the difference in those relative humidity values, down below 15% in some spots, all at the same time in the same region. This is what we mean when we talk about microclimates. This area is not included in a red flag warning, but we do have a rather large one all through Central California through this evening. What we have a little bit closer to home to where this fire is burning is a wind advisory. And something to point out about this is the precision with which this is issued. Now, again, our fire here is burning in Simi Valley. Areas just to the north of it along the Santa Susanas is where we have that wind advisory in place, because those areas of higher elevation get those stronger winds. Just in between there and the Ventura County mountains for spots like Santa Paula, Fillmore, and Piru, that's not a spot that's included in this wind advisory because it tends to be protected by those winds. But as these winds push through and get that extra lift off of the ridges of the Santa Susanas, that's why things get especially gusty right around where this fire is burning. Again, we've seen these wind speeds that have been upwards of even 35 miles per hour for those strongest wind gusts right around this fire throughout this afternoon, giving you an idea of where our directions are at. It's interesting to note that we're already starting to see that onshore flow pushing in for areas to the south of where this fire is burning. We're also seeing that in Oxnard, a little bit closer to home there, but we're still getting a Santa Ana push right around this region. We have yet to see those winds switch directions, but we do anticipate that over the next couple of hours as we watch our onshore flow push some of these Santa Ana winds out of the way. But those Santa Ana winds are continuing to bring those gusts upwards of 15, 20. You move up to Santa Clarita, upwards of 40 miles per hour. So regionally speaking, there's a lot of dynamics to consider here between the geography, the topography, the Santa Ana winds coming through, and those low relative humidity values. One last check-in here for you on our current conditions around this fire. Again, 5 to 10 mile per hour winds, stronger winds off to the east of this with gusts up to even 35 miles per hour, and really low relative humidity values. Michael, Annabelle.
All right, Kelly, we appreciate it. Want to give you an update now from the Simi Valley Unified School District. They say they are starting to evacuate schools located south of Fitzgerald Road because of the nearby brush fire here.
Yeah, and so we are starting to see with Crestview Elementary School, which is being evacuated also to Simi Valley High School. Crestview parents may pick up their students at Simi Valley High School. All schools located in an evacuation zone are currently in a shelter in place.
All right, here's a full, complete list of the impacted schools. As Annabelle mentioned, Crestview Elementary School, Hollow Hills Elementary School, Mountain View Elementary, and Hillside Middle School. We have a crew on the way to those designated school pickup zones. Jonathan Gonzalez mentioned as he made his way to that Max Court neighborhood, he saw a number of parents and guardians lined up ready to pick up their children. So again, this is the latest information coming here from the Simi Valley Unified School District.
You know, this is just so concerning for so many people who aren't home. Many parents, of course, who have kids who go to school in the surrounding areas are, travel to needing to leave work and get to their children. Very concerning, but, we do want to go back to Jonathan Gonzalez. He's on the ground there. And just, giving us a perspective of everybody who's just kind of going through this on, what is it, Max?
Max Court.
Max Court. Jonathan?
Yeah, Right off of Watson Avenue, guys. Yeah, and you know those first few people we spoke with just across the street from us here, they can't even leave because the fire engines that are here from LA City Fire are actually blocking their way out. But thankfully, these fire crews are here to stop the fire from getting to their homes. I want to show you the incredible work our firefighters are doing right now, quite literally hiking up this hill with fire hoses to try to get every single last hotspot that is affecting this neighborhood right now. It is just incredible work. We're seeing many different firefighting aircraft overhead continuing to do airdrops as well, and it just shows you the urgency, right? They attacked this head on, our firefighters did, coming from all over Southern California as they do in situations like these to put out fires. So we want to give some kudos to these guys who are literally hiking up the hill in this heat and that heavy equipment to try to put out those hot spots. This is a hillside where the hills are just below it, so as Kelly was mentioning, yes, fire tends to move fastest uphill. That is a bit of good news, but the winds are erratic, and fires can also create their own windstorms. So at any moment, the winds can change and push that fire downhill, but right now it does appear that it is going away from homes. A bit of good news. We do want to go back to see if we can speak with these people who live across the street. Jeremy, we're going to come this way and see if we can speak to the people who thought they were evacuating when they realized that these fire engines from LA City Fire were actually in their way right in the middle of the street. Obviously for a good reason, but let's see how they're feeling about what's going on here. Hey guys, we're live on the air right now. I know we just spoke with you. You guys were trying to leave, and now you can't because the fire engine's in your way. What do you make of all this?
Honestly, there's nothing to make of it. We're just blocked in right now. We're just waiting for them to clear out whatever's here so we can get out.
What do you make of the progress? Even when I first came to you about 15, 20 minutes ago, that hillside was burning. These guys are quite literally hiking up the hill now and taking out every single hotspot.
Yeah, they've been doing actually a lot of work. I've seen 2 of the actually bigger aircrafts come by dropping water and then 1 smaller one come in. And I see that they just actually went up on the hill and they're starting to attack it straight on.
Have you guys ever dealt with anything like this in this neighborhood? It's the risk you run when you're saying no, you've never dealt with anything like this.
No, we've never dealt with anything like this. At least nothing this close.
When it comes this close now, how are you feeling about everything?
Feeling okay. We actually made sure to pack up pretty quickly and thought we got quick enough, but just blocked in right now, so we're just waiting.
So you have your fire extinguisher in your hands.
Ready. We always had emergency this and a fire blanket.
Again, we hope that you guys continue to stay safe and that these firefighters continue to work on this hillside. They've done a great job so far. Thanks.
Thank you.
So again, this is the situation here on Max Court, just off of Watson Avenue, one of several neighborhoods under mandatory evacuation orders. The situation has improved drastically. And Michael, I keep thinking about what you mentioned earlier. It is beautiful, clear blue skies until it's not. And it's this massive smoke plume that can be seen for miles. We were driving here from the Glendale area covering a different story. I was on the 5 getting on the 118 and boom, there it was. I mean, it was massive from there and it's just bigger, of course, as we got closer. So we're going to continue to monitor the situation out here, but a lot of progress being made here on the hillside with firefighting aircraft and those firefighters on the ground doing everything they can to make sure that these homes stay safe. We'll send it back to you.
Jonathan, live for us here at the 1900 block of Max Court. What's interesting, Annabelle, is this is the same gentleman who he interviewed 10, 15 minutes ago. Had 5 cars loaded up. And he says he's never been through this before, but has a fire extinguisher and a fire blanket in his possession.
Yeah.
Makes you kind of wonder, should we all have fire extinguishers and fire blankets, at our disposal?
Absolutely, absolutely. I mean, we were talking about it. There is no fire season, right? We have it year-round, and so we have to be protected. One of the things that Supervisor Jeff Gorell was saying is that one of the places to go if you're in this particular area to get some updates on warning order, on those warnings and evacuation orders, is to go to vcemergency.com. We also spoke to the mayor of Agora Hills, and to what you were saying, Michael, the 5 Ps, those are the things that you should keep in mind, especially when there's a fire. So people, pets, papers, prescriptions, those are things that you should definitely have ready to go in the event you're being told you need to evacuate.
All right, so we are obviously covering here the ins and outs of the Sandy fire burning close to 200 acres here in Simi Valley, but we also have some breaking news out of San Diego. Police, they're responding to a shooting at a mosque. This is the neighborhood known as Claremont, adjacent to Kearney Mesa. Live look at the scene. It shows obviously a heavy police presence. Police are telling us the scene is still active but is contained.
Okay, and our Christian Cáceres is heading to the scene right now. We will, of course, bring you live updates as we get them, but you can definitely see, I mean, we saw it earlier. The camera is moving right now, but you definitely saw an active scene there.
Yeah, want to make it perfectly clear here. There's a city of Claremont in LA County. This is not that particular city. It's Claremont, near Kearney Mesa down in San Diego County. So again, we are monitoring what is happening there. Christian Cáceres is on his way down to the scene.
Yeah, but right now you are looking at live images here in Simi Valley. We are still monitoring the Sandy fire. This is a fire that broke out around 10:30 this morning. You know, we started getting word of it at that time, just before the 11 a.m. newscast. And, you know, we started with an acreage that was, what, 2 acres. That quickly then spread to 10, and then we're at over, you know, close to 200 acres now. So this is a fire that's being driven by the winds. Kelly Moody, our meteorologist, has been talking to us about the winds and how fast they're traveling here. Those gusty conditions also making, you know, affecting other areas in that region.
Yeah, you talk about there are several road closures. We know of at least one structure that has burned. A Ventura County supervisor we had on the line with us not too long ago says structures. So again, we're trying to get confirmation if in fact there's more than one. But we're talking about evacuations, road closures. Again, we were on Max Court not too long ago. Folks there getting out. One was being blocked by an LA City fire unit, but again, the situation, the anxiety level within that particular neighborhood, not as much as it was a few minutes ago because of the great work of firefighters.
Yeah, you know, I want to bring in our meteorologist, Kelly Moody. Kelly, let's talk about the air quality. You know, this is something that's affecting so many people outside of Simi Valley as well.
Absolutely. So we've been talking about throughout the morning and now into the afternoon this particulate matter 2.5, and that's what we're particularly concerned about for folks when it comes to smoke and ash in the atmosphere and making sure that you are staying safe. So even if you're not in the direct area around this fire where you maybe are facing the potential of evacuation, you could still be impacted by the smoke from this fire. So we tell people, stay indoors, close your doors, close your windows, make sure that you are running your AC so you can get a fresh source of oxygen moving through your home. And if you do have to be out and about, wear that N95 mask or whatever you can do to cover your face and prevent yourself from inhaling some of these smaller particulates that actually are considered large compared to what we inhale on a day-to-day when it comes to reduced air quality. That's something you have to be extra cautious with. It's why I'm not surprised that we've heard about shelter in place, keeping children indoors when it comes to some of those schools that are nearby where this fire is burning. Children are particularly susceptible to issues when it comes to fires burning and the smoke because of that, because their lungs are still developing. It's of course also an issue for anyone who has any sort of health issues who may be living in this area. It's just not a good time to be outside. I know everybody wants to go out inside and look and see where is the smoke, how do things look, but if you don't have to, stay indoors. That's what's going to keep you safe.
Kelly, what can we look forward to within the next couple of hours?
Yeah, absolutely.
All eyes are on these winds and wind gusts.
Yes, the fortunate news in this situation is that we are expecting fire and warmer air that we often associate with fire weather. Now, we were not included in a red flag warning or anything of that nature, but we know that this particular zone through Ventura County often sees these strong Santa Ana winds moving on through. Simi Valley in particular seeing low relative humidity values, which of course contributes to that ability for a fire to spread when that brush, when that fuel is extra dry. That can cause a lot of issues. Over the next couple of hours, we actually expect our winds to start to change direction. Something that's interesting is I'm watching very slowly but surely, but at our actual site on Fitzgerald Road, we've mentioned it a couple of times, it's right near where this fire broke out. We've been watching those winds weaken just ever so slightly. I'm also seeing some of those strongest gusts not far away in Woolsey Canyon that have been around 35 miles per hour starting to weaken a little bit as well. Gusts are of course of high concern because they can definitely cause fires to jump. They can provide that extra extra little bit of momentum. And we are still seeing gusty conditions in the area, but it does look like overall these winds are starting to weaken. And hopefully over the next couple of hours, we'll start to see these winds take on more of that sea breeze that does tend to be weaker for us in the area. But we, of course, have to be cautious when it comes to that potential of crosswinds and how that can impact fire behavior as well, Michael.
All right, Kelly Moody, you, of course, will stay on top of the current conditions and what's to come. And again, we're talking about a fire that has burned nearly 200 acres here in Simi Valley.
Yeah, and just so you all know, evacuation orders are currently underway. At this time, there are 4 evacuation orders and 3 evacuation warnings in place. And this is from Ventura County Fire that's giving us that information. But, you know, anything can change. And that's why, you know, you've got to stay with us here and just stay, you know, get informed, be informed. Of course, we also have updates on our app as well.
All right, let's get up to News Chapter 4. Julia Dane, keeping an eye on what is happening. I see one active hotspot there in your view, or at least a couple now.
Yeah, I'm seeing one over here. This is the most active one, and you can see people standing out here to the left of it. I believe those are all firefighters. But, Michael, what's really interesting, you mentioned this earlier, you warned this could happen. These embers are jumping because of the winds, and they're igniting brush relatively farther from the rest of where this fire is burning. So that's troubling because that's how this could continue spreading, especially if the wind changes direction, which I know Kelly has been forecasting to happen pretty soon. And this actually kicked up not too long ago. I think it was moving at about 5 knots earlier. It's now up to about 20, 25 knots. And you can see that wind behavior really picking up just looking at this smoke in our shot. The good news, I don't see a lot of active fire very close to homes. I think the aerial crews have prioritized putting out those hot spots first. You can see a helicopter right here. It just picked up water from Bard Lake. And I think if we follow this for long enough, we're going to turn around here in News Chopper 4 and try and hold this shot. You might be able to see yet another water drop. We've counted probably 15, 20 water drops now in just the last half hour. And that's thanks to all these different agencies, these different aircraft up here. It's helicopters doing the water drops, fixed wing planes doing the fire retardant drops, and that is making a world of difference here. I also do want to note Bard Lake, that body of water where they're picking up water for these drops, that's only about 3 miles from where this fire started. So overall, pretty favorable conditions. The aircraft can fly, they have a water source close by, and it sounds to me on these fire scanners we have up here in News Chopper 4, like firefighters sound pretty confident they're going to get this under control soon. But officially, right now, it is still at 0% containment, about 200 acres burning.
That is some great news. When we first started the newscast, I mean, we weren't sure where this is headed. We know those winds are just so gusty out there. The fire was spreading fairly quickly. I mean, we started with 2 acres, then it went to 184. You know, in just a matter of seconds, it feels like, you know, because it's going so fast. We saw a lot of movement on the ground, you know, and this is still going on. We still can't say that it's over because it's 0% contained.
This is still very much burning. And we don't know where this fire could jump. You can tell by the burn scar, and you can tell how patches have turned black around, you know, this green brush, that the fire has jumped. There was also a hillside where you could see the fire jumping across a fire break. So you really don't know what could happen. And this fire, again, is believed to have started accidentally as somebody was trying to clear brush.
All right, Julia Ding, we are going to stick with your shot here, but we want to tell our viewers as we approach 1 o'clock that we're staying on the air with this breaking news. Brush fire burning in Simi Valley. They're calling this the Sandy Fire, and the fire is fast moving.
Fast moving. The fire started just before 11 o'clock this morning, and it's burned 184 acres so far. Evacuation orders and warnings are in place as firefighters work to gain the upper hand on this fire, of course. Schools located south of Fitzgerald Road are being evacuated.
And we have crews on the scene right now who have been speaking with evacuees.
Just secure everything and get everybody out of the house. We got the dogs and all that stuff, and get in the RV just prepared. If that moves further over this way, then we can get a bunch of ambers coming down. But I think the biggest part of the threat would be these bank of eucalyptus. If they catch on fire, then this place just turns into a too hot zone, you know. So I just want to concern my family, get my little RV out of there, and I think we'll be okay.
All right, so as we keep a very close eye on what is happening here in Simi Valley, we also have following breaking news out of San Diego. On the right of your screen here, police are responding to a shooting at a mosque. Now, this is the neighborhood of Claremont, a live look from the scene. As you can see, it shows heavy police presence. Police telling us the scene is very active, but is contained.
Yeah, and our Christian Caceres is heading to the scene right now. We will, of course, bring you live updates as we get them. But yeah, Christian Caceres will be there, and he will be giving us that information.
All right, I want to take you back now to Simi Valley. Again, the scene of the 200-acre Sandy fire that has been burning. First call came in just after 10:15. Julia Ding live for us in News Channel 4. Julia.
Michael, we are heading back to base right now. We need to refuel. I think a couple of these fire department helicopters had been doing the same. But as we head out here, I'm going to try and hold this shot for as long as I can. I want to show you where this fire is most active right now. It's out here in the open space. This is not close to homes. And you can see this line of fire retardant that was laid down not too long ago that should stop this fire from burning down the hill if this wind does change directions. So overall, at this point in the fight against the Sandy fire, it looks favorable. We can see the progress that has been made. And as for those hot spots you noted earlier, Michael, it looks to me like aerial crews and ground crews have gotten those under control. Everywhere we turn right now, we see these helicopters. This is Ventura County Fire again, just picked up water. You see that water drop right now. With one drop, I think they're going to get much of this hillside just above these homes under control. I am seeing residents in some of these yards. I believe they were allowed to go back in. We saw somebody pulling up and then leaving with their boat in tow, and it looks like a couple people went back and got their horses into trailers. So it looks like law enforcement and fire officials here, they are taking precautions. They've blocked off a couple of these streets, but they are letting people go back into their homes to rescue pets, get documents, get prescriptions. So it looks like the urgency here is starting to lessen up as this firefight continues.
All right, Julia Ding live for us in News Chapter 4 on our way back to base to fuel up. We want to bring in Kelly Moody, meteorologist Kelly Moody, keeping a very close eye on the conditions out there, specifically the winds.
Yeah, especially the winds, Michael, because we are in the midst of a Santa Ana wind event. Did you see just the scope that we were looking at there at Julia Dang's last shot that she showed us before News Chopper 4 had to go and refuel? We're now seeing that more than 500 acres have burned because of this fire, and it is wind driven. We are in the midst of a Santa Ana wind event. I want to point out something really important though here. We have now fallen even below 15% in terms of relative humidity values in the area. It is so dry, and we have dry fuel. When we have dry fuel in areas like this, we can see those fires spark and spread so quickly, like what we're watching occur right now with the Sandy fire. Still seeing some strong winds in the area, overall weakening, but at times still seeing sustained winds up to 20 miles per hour just to the east of where this fire is burning, where we have some higher elevations. Those elevations, the topography of the area plays a critical role. What we mean by topography is the fact that we go from mountains and ridges down to valleys. That all is playing a large part in how these winds move through the area. Whenever we have a Santa Ana wind event, we can see that push that happens across the high desert down into Ventura County. So even as, and this is a current look at your sustained winds, we're watching some of these winds are starting to shift direction to take on more of an onshore flow, which we associate with the marine layer and the May Gray we've been talking about lately. we're still seeing strong Santa Ana winds fighting back right around where this fire continues to burn. Gusts in the surrounding area that have been upwards of 30, 40 miles per hour. So still continuing to see a lot happening. Now, I do want to note, just to give you a little bit of additional context, we have been concerned about fire weather throughout the region with a red flag warning that's been in place for pretty much all of Central California for today because of these Santa Anas that have been coming through and because of the low relative humidity values that we've been concerned about. The concern here has been that the highest threat would be a fast moving grass fire, which is essentially what we're seeing closer to home. Again, wind advisories have been in place right around this area. We saw over the weekend even a high wind warning through areas of the Ventura County Mountains, now just working with a wind advisory. So that's a step back. That's not as severe, but still seeing strong winds. Right now, it's 1 o'clock. We've been on air since 11 a.m. This wind advisory is set to expire at 3. Now, this is in place just to the north of where the Sandy fire is burning to account for these northeasterly winds that continue to come in, sustained between 20 and 30 miles per hour, gusts up to 50 miles per hour. We've been seeing gusts right around the fire getting as high as 35 miles per hour. And we're starting to hopefully see those winds back off a little bit more. Another quick explainer for you here, just on relative humidity values. Obviously, we're by the coast, so we get a lot more moisture in general. You can see much higher values for the Los Angeles basin. But it's this stretch that you can see from Lancaster down to Thousand Oaks where it is particularly dry, because that is the path that those Santa Ana winds follow, and those make things particularly dry in the area. So again, we're seeing relative humidity values right there on Fitzgerald Road, just around where this fire is burning, down to even 14%. Same with areas just to the west of this at Sinaloa Lake. We're also seeing those low relative humidity values, and just barely above that 15% line for spots just to the east of where the Sandy fire is burning. Michael, Annabelle.
All right, Kelly, thank you so much for that. I want to get back out to Jonathan Gonzalez. He's live on Peter Place. Jonathan, you know, I was looking at your images earlier, saw this person watering the roof of his home.
As we often do see during these situations, Annabelle and Michael, absolutely. This person, one of several people here on Peter Place, we walked over here. Our cars were trapped in by those fire engines as well. So we actually walked a few blocks to this location because we noticed smoke behind these homes here. And this is just one of several homeowners on this block, either watering down their homes, or we did see one homeowner actually watering down the palm tree in his front yard. And if you've ever covered a fire or seen one, you know those palm trees ignite all too quickly. We want to show you the situation and this person's backyard. He led us into his backyard to see the vast area that has been burned already here. Thankfully, we're seeing mostly white smoke, though we do see some active flames here just on the edge. The difference in topography here is that these homes are actually uphill from the area that is burned. You heard Kelly Moody mentioning earlier how fire moves fastest uphill at a dramatic speed compared to moving downhill. Well, and unfortunately, these homes are uphill, but the good news is, the difference is, this area has plenty of defensible space. We can actually see where the dry brush ends that is already burned. That is where the charred areas end. When it becomes dirt and there is no dry brush, the fire stops. This is what firefighters talk about, the importance of that area around your home, giving yourself that defensible space. It helps your home, it helps your family, and it helps firefighters. And we're seeing proof of that right here. Right now, I want to bring in Pablo. He's the homeowner here on Peter Place. He's the one who led us into his backyard. Pablo, we're live on NBC4 right now. First of all, I'm sorry this is happening so close to your home. We'll talk about this morning when you realized something was wrong.
You know, luckily we had our pool guy doing service, and he went towards the front of the door and he knocked real loud, and he says, you know what? The fire has just started behind your backyard. So I quickly ran over here and I looked over, and sure enough, it was right at the tip of the mountain there. And you know, we just grabbed our hoses and started, you know, trying to get everything wet.
What was that moment like when you realized, wow, it's actually right there? You know, you run the risk when you live on a hillside in Southern California that this could happen, but you really never believe it's going to happen to you.
Right. Yeah, we always think that way. You know, it's not going to happen to us. But, I mean, this morning was an eye-opener, you know, from just not being ready 100% to either evacuate or to be able to handle or be able to contain a little bit, because we're not going to contain it. I mean, so thank God we're able to do our part. And thank God for that, what is it, that span that's cleared.
Defensible space. I was just mentioning that on the air, yeah.
I mean, from now on, I think I'm going to do an extra 10 feet from my part to kind of help out.
Absolutely. You know, we look at this area. It's so sad to see it burn now. Thankfully, your home and all your neighbors' homes are still standing. Were you prepared to go? Do you have, you know, we often preach, you know, hey, be ready in case of a fire, but most people realistically aren't always in that situation. And when push comes to shove, you're like, oh, what do I do next?
Right. I think I'm not going to say 100%, but what I do have some suitcases with all our paperwork. I know where to go, and we just picked them up, put them at the front door in case we needed to evacuate. We were ready. So, but I mean, other than that, I mean, not 100%, but I think for the next time, if there ever comes, we will.
Was there a moment you thought you were going to have to evacuate, or you chose to stay here and try to fight?
I chose to kind of stick around. My son was helping me out, and we saw that the winds were actually, you know, shifting direction. So we just stuck it out, you know. But if it would have come straight to us, we would have definitely had to evacuate it.
How did firefighters tackle this area? Was it just a bunch of airdrops? Did you see firefighters down there at all?
No firefighters. It was mostly just the choppers and the gas. I mean, the water tanks and all that. But there was like 4 or 5 of them at one time. So, I mean, they were very high response rate, you know, real quick.
We were just, before we walked over here, we were up just the street on Max Court up there. We saw the fire getting dangerously close, just 100, 150 feet from the edge of some properties. The char lines of the fire, the edge goes right up to some of the properties in one case up there. But fire moves fastest uphill. That area here, what we call defensible space, is that something that you actively do every year?
Yeah, the HOA takes care of that. So they actually hire someone to do that part. But like I said, from now on, I'm going to go an extra 10 feet further down.
You can see right where the dry brush ends, the fire ends.
Yeah, that's what I was just telling my son. I'm going to do an extra 10 feet to be safe.
Pablo, thank you for your time. I'm glad that you're safe, your family's safe, and your house is safe as well.
Okay, thank you.
So yeah, here's the situation again on Peter Place. You see one homeowner watering down his home. Not a lot of active flames here, Annabelle and Michael. We do have some, but they're actually moving in the opposite direction. And the winds, as Kelly mentioned, still, you know, strong, but not nearly as strong as it was. Day that the winds will subside, but they're still dangerous enough to carry embers a long way, and of course that terrible smoke that is now, you know, causing air quality issues here in Simi Valley. Annabelle, Michael.
Hey, you know, Jonathan, really quickly, again, I'm going to ask for your visual perspective here. How far is the burn area from, let's say, Pablo's home there?
Yeah, let's go ahead and count. About 30 feet. I mean, and it's right where, I don't know if you can see it from Jeremy's camera vantage point, but we see all this dry brush and then this black line where it meets the dirt that's still brown, not touched by the fire. And that's what's been cleared by what he said was the HOA here. They do this every year and they do it for a reason. Look, we know that often, you know, we preach this and we preach that when it comes to fires and safety and earthquakes and whatnot. We preach those things for a reason. Law enforcement and first responders preach those things for a reason. You're seeing evidence of it right here, especially given that this house and the houses on this neighborhood, again, are uphill, meaning that they were even more threatened by the flames that were approaching this house. It moves so much quicker. Thankfully, they had that defensible space, and it really made the difference here. It's incredible.
And he says he's going to take matters into his own hands and create, an extra 10 feet of defensible space?
Yeah.
At least 10 feet, and you can see why it really works.
You know, so as of right now, Ventura County, June 1st is like the deadline, per se, to clear your brush. And so many people have been doing that. But, I mean, people like Pablo, yeah, they're taking matters into their own hands, right? And just doing more. I know I got goats last year for my area because we did do the brush clearance, but we also had to bring in goats to do more of what is required. And that's just after witnessing, you know, what happened in the Palisades, what happened in the Eaton fire, in Altadena with the Eaton fire. So many homeowners are just really trying to do what they can to protect their properties and, of course, neighboring properties as well.
Yeah, again, Jonathan, a great report in there on Peter Place with Pablo. And again, breathing a sigh of relief here. Again, the firefighters got that work done. Interestingly enough, I want to also point out here that at 11:19 this morning, we got an update on acreage from CAL FIRE. It was at 184 acres. It is now exploded to 500 acres. This fire first reported just after, 10 o'clock this morning?
Yeah.
If If I do the math here, what's 3 hours?
10:15, yeah, 10:17, yeah.
Yeah,
Right.
about 3 hours worth. Again, 500 acres.
Yeah, and again, we spoke earlier to Mayor of Agora Hills, Jeremy Wolf, who said, get those 5 Ps in order. People, pets, papers, prescriptions. Got to have those down. But you also need to have an evacuation plan ready to go. If you have kids, if you're at work, what's going to happen? Who are we going to call? Where are we going to go? This is a good time to start planning all these things. It's a good reminder. We do it when there's an earthquake. And so, yeah, with fires, we also have to have these things down.
But you heard from Pablo and some other homeowners that they don't think it's ever going to happen to them. So, of course, it's a reactive response as opposed to being a little proactive. But again, I think folks here are getting the message. We see some strike teams here. Again, what's interesting is that Bard Lake is a nearby water source. Again, this is a coordinated effort with Ventura County Fire, CAL FIRE, LA City and County. Bard Lake, about 3 miles from where this fire started. So that's an adequate resource, more than adequate resource here for firefighters as they make these aerial drops.
Yeah, and we've seen those aerial drops and how precise they've been. I mean, Jonathan was at a home and saw it, saw them drop that water and just took out that fire that was nearby. So, yeah, I mean, these things are essential when it comes to this firefight.
Again, the Sandy fire burning 500 plus acres, at least one home destroyed. Again, we're trying to get confirmation on whether there are other structures that have been damaged or destroyed as a result of this fire, but it's been burning for well over 3 hours. And firefighters here play a game of whack-a-mole. They've concentrated on one area, but again, the wind gust perhaps carries an ember, then you got to go over to another area. So again, a lot of geography to cover here. The winds aren't helping whatsoever, but let's bring in meteorologist Kelly Moody, keeping a very close eye on the winds in and around Simi Valley. And I say not specifically Simi Valley because we have wind advisories outside of Simi Valley, correct?
Exactly, and that wind advisory is in place for areas just to the north of where the fire is burning. That wind advisory in place just to the north where the fire is burning. But what I want to show you now is on our First Alert Radar Network, we can actually see a loop of the last couple of hours. Hopefully we can bring this up here of this smoke and how it exploded through the area. Hopefully we can bring up our weather graphics here so I can share this with you. We've been continuing to watch as smoke has been spreading through the area. So you can see on this loop of the last several hours, the dark loop that just continues to push out with this plume of smoke out toward the coast, through areas of Simi Valley, down through Thousand Oaks. What's interesting is that over the last 15 minutes or so, and you can see it there just as the end of this loop ends, things start to get a little bit lighter, which means that things are not as intense with this smoke in the area. But we've certainly seen some of the darker colors that have continued to push this smoke out this direction. What's also interesting to note is the direction that this continues to get pushed by those Santa Ana winds from the northeast down toward the coast. We have yet to really see those winds change directions, but we do anticipate that to happen over the next couple of hours. I moved around some of our different sites that we've been looking at to really evaluate conditions for areas directly surrounding where the Sandy fire is burning. So I want to bring you some of this newer data. Again, you can see there in the yellow spots where we are seeing relative humidity values below 15%, as low as even 12% on our Simi Valley sensor there. We're continuing to see winds that are hanging out, at least on this side, between 5 and 10 miles per hour. Gusts that have been getting as high as 25 miles per hour over at Sinaloa Lake, but a little bit weaker directly around where the fire is burning. Off to the east, this is where winds have been consistently stronger. So just to the east of where this fire is burning. And we know those winds continue to come down from the north and from the east. So that's really where this is continuing to get a lot of that wind fueling this. And you can see it on a larger scale as well when we look at our winds. These winds continuing to push across the high deserts down through Ventura County, but at the coast at Oxnard, we're starting to see a shift in those winds, bringing in that sea breeze. And that shift in the winds will also come with a weakening of the winds. We've been talking about that wind advisory that is in place for areas just to the north of where this fire is burning. You can see why when you see some of these gusts that have been coming in regionally, upwards of 40 miles per hour. It doesn't necessarily include include where the fire is burning, nor does the red flag warning that has been issued that includes much of Central California. But we know in our little microclimate, specifically around this area that we've been showing you, where this fire is burning, that when the winds come through, when they're Santa Anas, this area gets gusty consistently. And that means it gets extra dry, which is where we show you some of these relative humidity values that, again, stay right around 15%. You can see that stretch from that northeast flow where things get dry, and just the difference between a spot like Thousand Oaks at 15% relative humidity values as we speak compared to Oxnard, closer to the coast, 61% with those relative humidity values. That's a difference that we can see in terms of moisture in the atmosphere, and the drier it is, the more we know we are at risk. And this area in particular continues to see relative humidity values well below 15%. A lot of different factors to consider between how dry it is, the winds coming in, really isolating this area in specific to be having some of these conditions that can fuel a fire as quickly as we have seen now, burning more than 500 acres. Annabelle, Michael.
So again, we just want to reiterate, how fast this fire has been moving. Started at 10:17, and for anybody who's just joining us right now, earlier today we spoke to Simi Valley Police Sergeant Richard Morton and said that at 10:17 this morning they got a call from a resident who said they were clearing their brush. That person on a tractor hit a rock and they think they started the fire.
Yeah, you want to do your brush clearance, but it's hard to do when it's this windy, because then we can end up with a situation like what we're seeing right now.
And that, of course, is not confirmed yet. We're still trying to get that's under investigation. So we're still working on that.
Yeah, this fire, as Annabelle mentioned, started. The first call came in at 10:17 here this morning. We reported 2 acres, then 10 acres as our coverage continued. 184 acres. We got confirmation of that number at about 11:20 this morning. And we just received a word here, and I want to reiterate, 500 plus acres here. Standing fire. At least one home has been destroyed. Trying to confirm whether there are other structures that have been destroyed as well.
Yeah, this is an all hands on deck situation. We know that CAL FIRE, Michael, is on this, LA County, Ventura, LA City. I mean, so many agencies are just coming together to try to get this under control. As of right now, though, 500 acres, but 0% contained.
Yeah, Ventura County Fire, Andrew Dowd, we spoke with him earlier, characterized this as a dynamic fire, a number of evacuations, orders in place, asking residents to heed all warnings, working, as you mentioned, in coordination with a number of other fire departments, including CAL FIRE, LA City and County. And we've seen those precise and quite accurate water drops here on our live on our air with Jonathan Gonzalez, who was positioned at Max Court. This was an area, a neighborhood, a cul-de-sac, in fact, that was actually being evacuated. We saw a couple of those drops happen. He spoke to homeowners as well, who are now breathing a sigh of relief.
Yeah, that's right. For any updates on or warnings, those evacuation orders, go to vcemergency.com. We spoke to Supervisor Jeff Gorell from Ventura County, and they gave us that information for our viewers.
All right, we want to give you an update now from the Simi Valley Unified School District. They have begun to evacuate schools located south of Fitzgerald Road because of the nearby brush fire. And we are starting with Crestview Elementary School, which is being evacuated to Simi Valley High School. Crestview parents, you can pick up your students at Simi Valley High School. All schools located in an evacuation zone are currently in a shelter in place.
Yeah, so here's a full list of the impacted schools. As we mentioned, Crestview Elementary School, Hollow Hills Elementary School, Mountain View Elementary, and Hillside Middle School. We have a crew that's speaking to parents right now. We've been showing you images of those long lines of parents just waiting to get their kids. But here it is.
I mean, we have documents that we saved in times like this, so we knew we kind of lived in the area that is prone to fires. So I'm grabbing some of those documents, I'm grabbing our pets and animals, and I'm heading on out in just a few minutes.
How long?
Pretty concerned. I mean, I'm definitely concerned for the neighbors that live a little bit closer to the fire in the cul-de-sac back there. But yeah, definitely concerned, and I can see it. It's not even 8 houses away, so pretty nervous, yeah.
Now, this gentleman and his family evacuating, making their way down to, I guess, more of the urban part of the city here, talking about going to stay with his mom. We've talked to people who live on Max Court. Jonathan Gonzalez, live with residents there who got a warning to leave as well. 5 cars loaded up. They had a fire extinguisher, fire blankets, and they say they have never been through anything like this before.
Yeah. All right. At Hillside Middle School, we spoke to one mother waiting in line to pick up her kids. Listen to this.
I'm not too nervous. It seems like they've got it under control. You can see the fire retardant in the hills, so I feel safe. Just want to get my kid out. Yes, it looks very organized. We're waiting in line. There's an area to pick up the students. Everybody's calm, so not worried.
Again, one mother there doesn't seem too concerned, going to get eyes and hands on her child and, again, make their way out of the school here right now. This is a live shot here. Do we have the name of the school here, folks? Hillside Middle School, okay? Where parents, you see, in line, trying to, again, access their children.
You know, and that's key. That mother said it, you know, we're just all remaining calm. And I think under situations like this, you've got to stay as calm as possible, right? You're picking up your kids, and some of them may not know. They may be a little too young to understand really what's going on, but they see mom or dad picking them up, and they're like, okay, well, it's a little early. But, yeah, so many staying calm out there, and this is such a sigh of relief for so many people who are able to go and pick up their children.
And we know that, you know, as parents ourselves, that the children feed off of our energy. So, again, parents who look relatively calm at this point, again, because perhaps of the great work of firefighters out there in Simi Valley. We'll bring in NBC4's Jonathan Gonzalez. He has been continuing our coverage. Last we saw you, Jonathan, you were on, Peter Place?
Yeah, we're on Peter Place. We're still in that same backyard, Michael and Annabelle. Not a lot of updates since we last spoke with you, but it's just amazing to see the work that they've done as quickly as they've done it, though it's sad to see the hillside here as charred as it is. When we spoke with the homeowner, Pablo, he was telling us, you know, the firefighters made quick work of this. He and his son also made quick work. He said when his pool guy let him know, hey, there's a fire in your backyard, he said he and his son ran out here with water hoses to try to do what they can. But the issue now, we mentioned last time, and there is some firefighting aircraft now circling the area for the first time in about 15 to 20 minutes, really the first time we've seen it since we've gotten here. This area is actually kicked up. There's active flames down below, but when you see the rest of the hillside in this area that's already burned, it's already charred, those flames are likely being left alone right now because they're most likely going to die out by themselves. That's the hope. And we know they're not going to come this way towards this neighborhood on Peter Place because this hillside has already burned, and Pablo, the homeowner here, told us about how the HOA requires defensible space and does defensible space work, much like what Annabelle was talking about at her home. They do this every single year, and they have about 15 to 20 feet of defensible space behind this property, and it's just incredible to see how the burn line ends when the dry brush ends. All we see is dirt, and then you start seeing that dry brush. That's what burned. The area directly surrounding the home is completely fine. We hear firefighters talk about the importance of defensible space. This is exactly why, especially for this neighborhood. The homes are uphill from the hillside, and as Kelly Moody's been talking about all morning, what we have, and all afternoon rather, fire moves fastest uphill. It causes the biggest threat. And so this home would have been in direct threat if not for that defensible space clearing. You heard Pablo earlier when we spoke to him. He also talked about, hey, next time we do this, I'm going to add another 10 feet myself to whatever they're doing, because he saw how incredible that work is in saving his home and that of every one of his neighbors. When we walked over here from Max Court, Michael and Annabelle, we saw homeowners here on Peter Place watering down the rooftops. Here's Pablo and his son right now. Actually, up here next door, you still see one of the homeowners just kind of taking it all in, sadly. He's up there with his water hose. He was watering down his property. Across the street, we saw one man watering down his palm trees. And again, it's one of those things with fires. If you know, you know. Palm trees can ignite in just seconds, and those are the embers. Even with these winds that aren't as gusty as they were when we first got here, these winds can kick up embers, especially from palm trees, for miles. That's what we saw in the Palisades fire. That's what we saw in the Eaton fire and other areas. Palm trees are very, very destructive. They do not help the firefight at all. So again, this continues to be good news here on Peter Place and the surrounding area. This area is under mandatory evacuation orders, despite the fact that you do see homeowners here. A lot of people in these situations, from my experience, they don't want to leave. This is what they work hard for their space, for their property, for their homes, for their families. They want to make sure that they can do anything they can to help firefighters in protecting their property. Now, that's not always a safe idea to do so. We should remind our viewers it is important to heed the warning from law enforcement about evacuation orders, but a lot of people, they make the choice to stay and try and protect their properties. Often they're successful in doing so. What protected this neighborhood was that defensible space that Pablo was telling us his HOA here does every single year. You hear about it, you hear the preaching from fire departments and fire officials about this every year. There is no fire season, by the way, and this is proof of that. We're here in May talking about a wildfire, but it shows you that that kind of work can save homes and lives. It's just incredible, Michael and Annabelle.
Yeah, let officials continue to preach because, again, we see it firsthand how effective it is. Jonathan, what stood out to me with Pablo during your last interview with him was the fact that you asked him if he was prepared, if he had his ready, set, go package to go at any moment. And he said he wasn't 100%, but perhaps, just shy of 100%.
Absolutely, and I think that's the honest truth. People, as we watch now the flames really kicking up here on the other side of this little mini canyon here behind Pablo's home, you could see that the fire now twisting.
Here is a soft place. Here, calm comes easy. Everything exhales. Exceptionally soft bedding and bath. Parachute. Land softly.
This is the only tool I've used every single day since we started our company.
You have to have a go bag ready to go. You have to have your important documents ready to go, extra clothes, anything you need, any keepsakes that you can take with you in a moment's notice, especially in these types of situations when there is mandatory evacuations now in place. We're starting to get embers. Yeah, we're starting for sure to get embers now kicking up and flying this way with the winds. These are the embers that can get into the attic areas of homes that aren't protected. These are the embers that can carry for miles, and that's the issue. Even though those flames don't appear to be actively threatening any structures or homes or buildings right now, those embers continue to carry with these winds that are now kicking up even more. In the distance, I saw a fire retardant drop just now on what I believe would be the eastern flank of this fire. When we were coming up here, we saw some Phos-Chek lines that were holding really strongly, preventing that fire from spreading to the eastern side of the hillside here of the Santa Susana Mountains. But where we are right now in the hillside behind these homes, a lot of smoke causing terrible air quality in the area, and the flames that will not die down. They may need another water drop in this area as well, Michael and Annabelle.
All right, Jonathan, we are going to circle back with you. We do want to switch some gears here to that breaking news out of San Diego. Police say at least one suspected shooter in a mosque attack is dead, and the incident has been contained. This is the neighborhood of Claremont, and no information has been released about the shooter or any potential victims.
Our Christian Casada is headed to the scene right now. This is in San Diego County. We, of course, will bring you live updates as we get them. Again, to want to clarify, this is the city of Claremont within San Diego County. I know we have a Claremont in the LA County area, but again, not affiliated whatsoever. This is down in San Diego County.
And earlier we did see those images, Brownlee. It was very, very active. We saw a lot of police units there too. Yes.
So we know that that situation has been neutralized. It's been contained. Of course, more information to come with our Christian Casadas live on the ground here on NBC4. I want to bring you back now to LA County. Now, we're talking about the Ventura County as well. We're talking about the Simi Valley fire with the Sandy fire burning 500 plus acres, at least one home destroyed.
Yeah. We want to circle back with Eric. Eric Leonard, he has some information for us as well. Eric. Okay.
Changed as quickly as it did. You guys were talking earlier about how the initial reports were just a few acres and then it jumped and then it jumped again. A lot of that has to do with the difficulty in mapping the size of a fire, because you can imagine the first firefighters that get out there are not really focused on calculating acreage. They're focused on saving people's homes. In LA County and in the surrounding counties where they use this quick reaction force, which is, for lack of a better term, a mutual aid system where they bring in extra helicopters and some extra equipment, there's a contractor that flies out from from LA County that has an airplane that's specifically set up to do the mapping. So a lot of times when we see the acreage jump, it's really just because it's the first time somebody has gone out there with the correct equipment that's able to map it very, very quickly. They use an infrared camera so they can see through the smoke, and that's oftentimes why we see the acreage jump from an initial report, which is generally a rough estimate based on the local firefighters, to something that's much more substantial. It's not really because the fire has grown quite as quickly. It's oftentimes because it's the first chance they have to map it. And as we've been watching, it seems like other than a few little fingers of fire that continue to burn up against some of the homes, it's pretty clear that the fire has burned out away from those neighborhoods and into the wilderness, where no doubt it'll be a lot easier for firefighters to tackle.
And Eric, you're familiar with this particular area where the fire actually ignited. Again, you describe it as more horse country than.
Yeah, so this is on the very south end of the city of Simi Valley. It's one part of it is bordered by the wilderness area that we were watching closer to where it started. The other side, the west side of it, is bordered by sort of the main thoroughfare through there. In the city of Simi Valley, it's First Street. Then it turns into a road called Long Canyon. The end of that road gets into a neighborhood called Wood Ranch. But to the east, the neighborhood that we saw closest threatened by the flames is referred to as the Bridle Path neighborhood. And there's one long looping street and then a bunch of smaller streets that feed off of it. It is a neighborhood that has its own horse trail. It has its own horse exercise facilities, and many of the homes there have their own corrals, stables, and space to keep horses. It's really I wouldn't want to say it's more rural because it's pretty much in the city, but the houses there are further apart than in a lot of other neighborhoods because the people there who have horses just need a bunch more space. A lot of them have trailers, they have handling equipment, and that appears to be, from the aerial pictures we were seeing and where Jonathan was earlier, the area where the fire burned closest to.
You know, Eric, for so many people who live in Simi Valley, they clearly remember the Woolsey fire as well. That was just neighboring.
Right. That burned in a slightly different area, and clearly that one threatened far, far more homes and neighborhoods than this. But I was just mentioning earlier when we were talking that there were a number of smaller fires on the north side of Simi Valley just in the last year. Fortunately, all of those burned on days where it wasn't particularly hot. While there were winds, it wasn't particularly ferocious. And you hate to see any fire burn, but if they are going to burn, days like today where the conditions are relatively mild is perhaps the best case scenario. It gives a chance for the firefighters to stop the flames from getting closer to homes, as we saw here, as Jonathan's been out there watching the water drops and the hand crews. And nobody really wants to wish for a fire, but if there was going to be one, having mild conditions is such a huge advantage, and it creates the added benefit, of course, of destroying a lot of brush that would then be potential fuel when there's a fire in less favorable conditions. So certainly the folks there, it sounded like they were relieved that the fire had burned close but then moved on. And again, considering all the possibilities here, this pretty much turned out as well as anyone could hope.
All right, Eric Leonard, if you can stand by here, we appreciate that. Thank you so much. We're getting late word here. That's the fire. As we've been reporting, the Sandy fire has now burned 720 acres.
I mean, so again, this is a fire that's being driven by wind. It's quickly spreading. We've been talking about that. We've been giving you those updates as we've been on the air now since 11 this morning. So, yeah, it's been a drastic change for so many people. Evacuation orders are in place. Evacuation warnings are in place. We are closely monitoring this. I mean, we've been seeing the fight above, on the air, on the ground. So many people coming in to assist their neighbors also to protect their properties.
Kelly Moody has been keeping a very close eye on the winds in and around Simi Valley. Again, this is a Santa Ana event, and again, this is a wind-driven fire here. And And from what I understand, that things are supposed to ease up perhaps as we get to later into the afternoon. So, again, a wind-driven fire. We've talked to a number of folks here during our coverage here. Andrew Dowd with Ventura County Fire called this a dynamic fire. That's when it was 184 acres. Now we're talking 720 acres. It's been burning, since 10:17 this morning?
That's right. We do also want to give you some evacuation centers. These are temporary. So there's the Rancho Santa Susana Community Park. Now, if you have larger animals, Eric was talking about some of these properties do have horses and whatnot. You can go to the Ventura County Fairgrounds. For smaller animals, if you are being evacuated, you can go to the Simi Valley Animal Shelter. But as always, Michael, when we see a fire, this is always such a good reminder to have all of those documents in order. The mayor from Agora was clearly, and that just kind of stuck with me, have your 5 Ps in order: your people, your pets, your prescriptions, your paperwork, right? And then, of course, having an evacuation order.
Yeah, we talked to
evacuation plan ready to go.
We talked to a number of folks, or Jonathan Gonzalez, along with his photographer, down on Max Court, and he ran into a family here, 5 cars loaded up. They said they'd never been through anything like this before. They had a fire extinguisher, a fire blanket. They were ready to go. The only problem at that particular point was they had an LA City fire unit blocking their way. But again, they were getting control. They were getting a handle on the fire within that particular neighborhood. So we saw the anxiety level at its peak. And then, as time went on, it lessened quite a bit. So again, they loaded up. They were ready to go. We talked to someone else on Peter Place, where the fire burned within, what I'd say, 20 to 30 feet from this man's house. We asked if he had a plan, if he was ready to go. He said he was about not 100%, but close enough. So again, keeping a very close eye on what's happening now and what's to come in terms of brush clearance. Yeah, fire got pretty close to his home, but he says next year, which is handled by the HOA, by the way, he's going to continue that brush clearance another 10 plus feet.
Right, that's right. Okay, so again, we just want to remind you, this fire now at more than 700 acres. According to Ventura County Fire, they have 200 firefighters assigned to this fire. The firefighters are being supported by 3 tankers and 6 helicopters, and we've been seeing the work that they've been doing, just remarkable. Conducting aggressive aerial suppression operations, of course, in coordination with ground crews. So a lot of people are just really trying to tackle this. But these gusty winds have been so challenging for this firefight.
We've seen that aerial assault here, and again, it's been just remarkable. Bard Lake, when we had Julia Dang here with us not too long ago, she said that Bard Lake is a really good water source. It's only about 3 miles away, and we've actually seen, some of these units fill up and then make those precise and very accurate water drops here, especially during Jonathan Gonzalez's live shot. Speaking of which, we have Jonathan live for us. He's still on Peter Place. I believe you're still in Pablo's backyard.
We are still here in Pablo's backyard monitoring the situation, because when we were last with you, those flames were actually kicking up to the strongest level we had seen since we first got to this neighborhood. We were down the street, as you know, Michael and Annabelle, on Max Court, covering a house there where the flames got right up to the property line. We saw those LA City firefighters assisting, and they were able to knock down the flames in that neighborhood. But then we looked over in this direction, and we could suddenly see black smoke billowing up behind these homes here on Peter Place. And it's because their hillside right behind their homes burned dramatically. We're talking, dozens, if not hundreds of acres here where the fire tore through. But thankfully, every home here on Peter Place appears to be standing. And it's because of all this defensible space we keep talking about that Pablo, the owner of this home, told us his HOA does every single year. And you know why they do it? One, yes, it's required by law. And this is why. It is because it makes a huge difference. They have basically no dry brush within the 20 to 30 feet behind their home. And that fire did not come anywhere near their property because of that. It actually stopped right where that dead and dry brush stops. So that just shows you the importance of that defensible space work that they did recently. And so we want to pan over to the left, though. The concern here are those active flames. They're actively burning dry brush. Slower burning downhill. That is a bit of good news, but still a threat. No homes appear to be directly near those flames, but they're not far away. And with the wind still kicking as they are, that situation situation can change all too quickly as well. We've seen firefighting aircraft more so over the last 10 to 15 minutes in this area. We do see a chopper off in the distance, but we have not seen any water drops on this particular area behind Peter Place since we got here. Off in the distance, I do believe you see some homeowners at the edge of their properties, again, monitoring the situation. I do see one person, and Jeremy, I don't know if you have eyes on it, but that person down there below the hill looks like he or she is using a water hose excuse me, to wet some of the dry brush that's in that area in hopes that if the flames continue in that direction, you know, they won't go very far after that. So we're continuing to monitor the situation here. Not a lot of active flames, sadly, a lot of charred hillside, but the homes are standing, people are safe. Ultimately, that's what matters in this situation right now, Michael and Annabelle.
All right, Jonathan, live for us there on Peter Place. Again, a much different scene than we saw during Jonathan's last live shot. We want to switch gears, and that breaking news out of San Diego. Okay, I'm being told we're going to hold off on that here.
So, you know, if you've been watching these images, you may be wondering, okay, how did this fire start? What do we know about this so far? So just so you know, earlier we spoke to the police over in Simi Valley, Sergeant Richard Morton. He said that they got a call this morning around 10:17 from a resident who said they were clearing out their brush. They were on a tractor when that tractor hit a rock, and they believe that sparked the fire. That's still not confirmed. Of course, it's still under investigation. That's going to take some time. But, you know, just to give you an idea, which is, of course, that irony, Michael, is that so many people are clearing their brush right now. And then this happens.
Yeah, you know, that was in the 2600 block of Rudolph, from what we understand. But again, still trying to get confirmation on that particular event. We saw the growth, the massive and quick growth of this fire here. Call came in just after, 10:17 this morning. Went from 2 acres to 10 acres. Confirmation about 11:20 this morning that was 184 acres. Then 500 acres, and just within the last 15 or 20 minutes, so we now know it's at 720 acres.
Yeah, CAL FIRE, LA County, LA City, Ventura, also working, you know, so many agencies have partnered together to try to tackle this fire. Of course, you know, we know also that one house was fully engulfed, destroyed by this fire.
Yeah, Trickling Brook Court, we saw it live on our air from News Chopper 4, completely decimated. We heard from a Ventura County councilman who said during our interview with them, structures. So again, we're still trying to confirm if in fact this is the only structure or if there are additional structures.
As we see firefighters just going up that hill there. I mean, this is the work that's being done on the ground, but we've clearly been seeing the work that's also been done from the air. You know, it's just, and they're dealing with these challenges with the wind, and we saw how challenging that could be with the Palisades and, of course, the Eaton fire. Yeah,
very dynamic fire, as Ventura County Fire, as Andrew Dowd told us earlier today. There were a number of evacuation orders. Asked residents to heed all warnings. And again, working in coordination, and this is really remarkable here. Ventura County Fire working with LA City and County Fire, CAL FIRE, so that mutual aid, you know, partnership that we have. Again, if resources are necessary, if they are needed, additional resources, we're coming in to help.
Right. You know, and then, of course, neighboring cities, neighboring towns are also being affected by this. We spoke to the mayor of Agora Hills, Jeremy Wolf, who said that there's no direct threat, but they are definitely monitoring this fire. You know, but also reminding viewers to have those 5 P's in order: your pets, your people, your papers, your prescription. And then, of course, having an evacuation plan ready to go in the event that something like this were to happen. You know, just having an idea with your family, where are we going to meet? Who's going to get the kids? Who's going to leave work? You know, just kind of having all of those things that we don't often think about until it's happening.
You know, Mayor Wolf made a really good point. He said, no, we're not in the direct path. There's no direct threat to the city of Agora Hills, but, you know, telling residents not to sleep on that. Yeah. I mean, we've been seeing how this fire, you know, has a personality. It will change. You think it's going one way, then it's going the other way, all being driven by these shifting winds. And again, he gave the website of agorahillscity.gov.ready for any and all information. And of course, Ventura County Fire telling us at vcemergency.com or vcemergency.org. They're going to post evacuation warnings and, of course, evacuation orders.
Yeah, so as of right now, as of where we stand, evacuations are currently underway at we've got 4 evacuation orders and 3 evacuation warnings in place. So, so many people have had to leave their homes. So many other people, Mike.
Where's that odor coming from?
All due respect, your garbage disposal stinks.
Who are you?
Your kitchen godfather. I'm here to help freshen things up.
Freshen how?
With my antimicrobial LED light. Bada bing, bada boom.
What is happening here? We tell people, we hope people are proactive, but again, we heard from a couple of folks here that they never think it's going to happen to them. But again, this is a lesson learned, and of course, moving forward, their mantras and their mentality has changed.
Yeah, so many people just blindsided by this, right? You leave your house in the morning, you go to work, you go about your business, your usual Monday, and then this happens. It's unfortunate because there is no fire season, as we see these helicopters just do an amazing job at just trying to, fight this fire. And it's been a real challenge. I mean, we're seeing those winds. We're seeing that plume of smoke just traveling. And of course, so many of the cities nearby are also being affected by this fire. So if you're driving on that 118 freeway, you are absolutely seeing this.
Okay, again, we talked to a couple of residents here who have been affected, who were part of that evacuation order. One moving down to his mom's house. He said he was fully prepared with the paperwork, the documents, the prescriptions, and the pets, making his way down to the a more populated area of Los Angeles. And again, we talked to Pablo. This is where Jonathan Gonzalez was with his photographer there on Peter Place. Again, not fully prepared with all the documents, but again, we talk about lessons learned when the mantra mentality changes after something like this.
Yeah, we see those firefighters there on the ground just getting ready to just do some more work out there. I want to remind people that there are evacuation centers in place. These are temporary, but as of right now, if you need somewhere to go, consider these options. They are always there willing to assist. But we've got the Rancho Santa Susana Community Park for those larger animals. If you have horses or whatnot, you can go to the Ventura County Fairgrounds. And then for small animals, you can head on over to the Simi Valley Animal Shelter. Again, these are temporary places where you can take your animals, where you can go, you and your family, while you guys kind of just wait and see what's going to happen next. But, that's always the biggest question. What's next?
Yeah, and children, as we've been mentioning, they're still in school. And again, there's been an evacuation. First, they were sheltering in place, but they've evacuated Crestview Elementary School. Some were picked up by their parents already, and the rest were taken by bus, from what we understand, to Simi Valley High School. That address there, 5400 Cochran Street in Simi Valley. So parents should go to Simi Valley High School for pickup. Regarding Hillside Middle School, we are told that they are not under mandatory evacuations, at least right now. They have not evacuated anyone. However, parents may choose to pick up their children. This is all she can, again, we get this from the Simi Valley Unified School District at this point. So again, latest information there with those two schools.
I was mentioning this earlier, Michael. Ventura County has a June 1st deadline for you to clear your brush. A lot of people do listen to that. Other people don't. But, this is a requirement that if you live on a hillside, you have to clear your brush. Pablo was saying, that he wants to take matters into his own hand and maybe just do more, right? To do 10 feet more. And that's what so many homeowners are doing because we've seen those images that are just in our mind, a constant reminder every time we see a fire, of the Palisades, of the Eaton fire, those things. Last year we got goats. We got goats because we do have a hillside, and when we did clear our brush, they don't go as high. So we got goats to help us clear out more of that brush. And, I just think that so many people are just trying to figure out ways to try to protect their properties, try to protect their neighborhood, right?
Yeah. Again, we want to, bring in now, from what we understand, Melissa McGee, meteorologist Melissa McGee, is joining our coverage here this afternoon as we approach 1:53. Melissa, the big concern, as we've been talking about since we got on the air here, the winds. where they are, where they're going.
Right. Michael and Annabelle, I just want to kind of give you the latest in terms of the observation data, what we're tracking with the Sandy fire in and around that area. Right now, specifically for Simi Valley, we've got winds coming in straight out of the south, sustained at 3 miles per hour. But elsewhere, just to the east of that region, we're finding gusts up to 30 miles per hour. So I would categorize this as a minor to moderate Santa Ana wind event. But as you know, it doesn't take a whole lot for a fire to spark and grow, because just after 10 o'clock, this fire was a little bit more than 100 acres, and now it has blossomed to 700 acres here. But what we're starting to see is that the wind is starting to dry out the atmosphere. Relative humidity is down anywhere from 11% to about 15% across the region. We talk about this being a wind-driven fire. I want to bring in the wildfire triangle, because there are a few factors that kind of help push and fuel these fires along here. We've got the topography, so that's essentially the hillside, the mountains, and the ranges. And then we have the weather. With this case, it is a situation with it being a wind-driven fire. So we're going to have very more on this in just a little bit. Michael and Annabelle, I'll send it back over your way.
All right, Melissa, thank you. Switching gears here to that breaking news out of San Diego, where law enforcement holding a news conference after a shooting at a mosque in the Claremont neighborhood. We know at least one suspected shooter is dead. As they prepare for this news conference, again, want to make it clear this is a neighborhood in San Diego County called Claremont. It's near Kearney Mesa, very populated area there in San Diego County. Let's listen in.
Good afternoon. Cesar Jimenez with San Diego Police Department, Public Information Officer. Still very early in our investigation. We've got Chief Scott Wall is going to let you know what occurred. We are going to have time for questions afterwards, and so please, Chief Scott Wall.
This is every community's worst nightmare. I want to give you some preliminary information to put a lot of minds at ease. There is no further threat. Both suspects in this case are deceased. All of the kids are safe. Our hearts go out to the families that are in this moment being notified of what has happened to their loved ones. We have 3 confirmed adults that are deceased at the Islamic Center. There is a lot of preliminary information that we're going to try to highlight and cover, but understand it's going to take us some time to get accurate information out to everyone. Here's what we know so far. At about 11:43, we received a call of an active shooter at the Islamic Center. Within 4 minutes, officers arrived on scene and observed immediately 3 deceased, what appeared to be deceased victims out in front. They immediately began to deploy with an active shooter response into the mosque and adjacent school. At about the same time, we began to receive calls from just a couple blocks away that we had more active gunfire. Officers were also responding to that call for service at the same time. There was a landscaper that was doing his work that was shot at and fortunately was not hit. That was at about the 7100 block of Salerno, which is just a couple blocks from here. Moments later, at the 3800 block of Hatton, officers were called to that location where they found a vehicle in the middle of the street with who we believe to be the shooters in this incident, both deceased. The circumstances that led up to this and the details of what happened and exactly which time it happened will come out in the days ahead. I can tell you This is, in 28 years, this is the most dynamic and impressive response that I have ever seen in policing. We have every single police officer available throughout our county that dropped what they're doing and did exactly what they're trained to do: run towards gunfire. I could not be more proud, and I cannot express.
Factor meals deliver pro-level nutrition with chef-crafted flavors that make it easy to feed your performance. Factor. Eat like a pro.
From home updates to major repairs, Bauer. Heavy duty guaranteed.
Tell you, this is, in 28 years, this is the most dynamic and impressive response that I have ever seen in policing. We have every single police officer available throughout our county that dropped what they're doing and did exactly what they're trained to do: run towards gunfire. I could not be more proud, and I cannot express the gratitude, the willingness to step into harm's way.
So back to our other big story right now, breaking in California. You can see the chopper flying over the fires in Simi Valley, Southern California, a brush fire raging just outside of Los Angeles. Chief Correspondent Jonathan Hunt reporting live for us from Los Angeles. Hi, Jonathan.
Hey, Martha, and we know that so far just over 180 acres have been burned in this fire that is being called the Sandy Fire. It started on Sandy Avenue in Simi Valley. That is the reason for that name. One property has been burned, as we understand it so far. It looks as though firefighters sprung into action really quickly here and are getting a handle on this. I've seen some video, too, of some homeowners at the back of their homes as flames approach up a slope behind those homes with their garden hoses, doing their best to tamp down the flames. And as you look at the wider pictures now, it does appear that they do have a good handle on this. As you just saw when you came to the live pictures there, they have helicopters dropping water. There is a body of water, Bard Lake, just a couple of miles from this scene, so it's easy and quick for them to do those water drops. I believe that they are also calling in fixed-wing aircraft. I have not personally seen any of those in action as yet, but they are always, in these situations in Southern California, readily available to be called into action if necessary. The fire is burning right now, Martha, by the way, just about 3 miles or so from the Reagan Presidential Library, and I believe the winds are blowing in that direction. So as a matter of precaution, the Reagan Library has been evacuated completely. Just a handful of staff remaining on site. All tour groups, including some school groups, moved out of there. The vast majority of the staff are sent home. And as you can see there are some flames still burning. So there's still work to do, obviously. The winds, we are told, are gusting right now, but they are expected to die down in the next couple of hours or so. So the hope right now, Martha, is that firefighters' quick action has got a handle on this and that they will be able to prevent the further spread as we go forward. Although, as I understand it right now, in theoretical terms, they're talking about zero containment. But as I say, from watching the pictures, having covered a lot of these things, it appears to me that they've got a pretty good handle